What's up, everybody? Welcome aboard Trading Live with Bubba, Tuesday, March the 18th, and it's quiet. Not a lot going on, not a lot to get excited about. We've got the Fed tomorrow, which I guess is what we're waiting for. Markets are lower pretty much across the board as we look at the futures on the daily. You've got the S&P a little bit lower, you've got the NASDAQ lower, you've got the Russell lower, and the Dow is actually higher on the day. Not a lot of excitement. I would continue to say, right now we'll look to sell premium. We can find an opportunity. Certainly consider selling put spreads in the SPY. Consider selling put spreads in the Qs. They're both near around support. So again, you're playing it for a day only. It's about from this point here, it's about a 4-hour trade. So again, you're just hoping that the support levels hold. But as far as the live trading, we'll see. I mean, we'll watch, obviously, and we'll look at everything else, but not a lot going on here. The volume continues to decline. In fact, this morning, when I traded with the group, we had 3 only gamble trades. We didn't even have any real trades that we wanted to step into. So again, I want to remind you that the markets are not always tradable the way we'd like them to be, and it's your job to learn to stay away. Again, it doesn't mean you can't watch, but there are certain times that the probabilities are not in your favor. So again, I urge you to keep that in mind, and so that you don't put yourself in jeopardy. Okay, because again, it's easy to do in this business. It's easy to put yourself in a place of time of jeopardy. And again, why would I want to get involved when I'm not probably going to get the expected results? So maybe crude will give us something to do. Maybe the euro currency. Again, it's like, if it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't be here right now. Okay, I'd be taking the morning off. Okay, and only because there's just nothing to do. So that's really, what it comes down to is when there's nothing to do, I don't feel any need to be overly involved here, because I don't have a dramatic advantage that I can see. So that being the case, why would I want to get involved if I can't find what we would call a significant advantage in the market? Okay, let me just let this bar close, and then we'll go look at some of the other stuff while we're waiting. There's an outside chance for gold right now, euro currency maybe. Again, but it's nothing that when the market lacks speed, which means it's lacking an emotional bias to it, there's really not a real reason for me to want to get involved, because we're trying to take advantage of that, we'll call it speed in the market. Okay, and right now it just doesn't appear that there's much, to really look into. Euro currency, it's close, but do I really want to play close? And the answer is no, I do not. So we're just going to go and take a look and see what's going on in the stocks we watch each and every week. And of course, Apple has bounced off that support level, in which we talked about selling put spreads last week. Interesting enough, you're right at 175. Okay. This looks like it's a little bit of a resistance area. I think the true resistance is probably 180, but it might hold 175. I'm not looking to do any trading here right now. Certainly if it's later in the week. What I want to do is I want to eliminate the time, plus the fact that you do have the Federal Reserve tomorrow. Okay, now the Federal Reserve, no matter what they do, it could create some action to the market. And I always say to you, why would I want to get involved if there's a big news item coming out and the markets are slow and crappy to begin with? Amazon, just kind of hanging out in consolidation, has been the same. There's really not a trade here, right? We're not at support to sell put spreads. We're not at resistance to sell call spreads. So what am I going to do here? Well, you could do a lot of things, but I would choose to do nothing. Coin, as we said last week, sell it. Okay, again, sell call spreads, and of course it paid off. Well, here we are now, and I think 220 is a pretty good level to sell some put spreads. Okay, now this is related to Bitcoin, and Bitcoin, as you can see, is getting clobbered today. But again, this is how this trades. So it went from 40,000 to 75,000. So a little bit of a pullback is no surprise. Okay. So I would certainly, be looking at coin to sell some put spreads, figuring I get a bounce in both coin and in Bitcoin. Okay. Meta, again, still in this consolidation range. It's already bounced off of the support. Okay. So again, where's my trade? There really isn't one. Google. Now, Google is interesting. I think it's coming down to support here. If it gets down to about 145, I'd like to sell some put spreads. Okay. Might even jump in a little earlier. But again, I'm warning you now. I don't think that jumping in front of the Federal Reserve on a position trade that you're going to hold through the Federal Reserve is worth the risk. Okay. IWM, again, on support, should get some sort of a bounce here. It would be one to look at, but again, this applies to this as well, right? Because this doesn't expire until tomorrow after the Federal Reserve. Microsoft, in the middle of nowhere, nothing really to do. Okay. NVIDIA, down on support. So now, is it going to hold again as it has done each and every other time? More than likely. So here you can sell some put spreads, but again, I put the thought of the Federal Reserve in your mind to remind you that, there are certain times that you're not. Now, again, the Federal Reserve could be very beneficial to you as well, right? It doesn't mean that the markets have to go against you. Okay. I'm just saying that it's a better habit to get into to stay away when there's big news items out that could move the markets a lot versus jumping in. I mean, if we had been spiking way higher in general markets going into this, I might say, hey, I want to take a shot to the short side because of, okay, and if we were way down, I might want to take a shot to the long side. But where we are, we're really kind of in the middle of nowhere and pretty much everything. The Qs, again, we talked about this a few minutes ago. I would sell put spreads here for today. I have no issue with that whatsoever. I think you'll get a bounce. Square, okay, I would sell put spreads here. But again, this brings in tomorrow. So this is one you probably want to wait on. Okay. The SPY, again, it's maybe a put spread sale, but maybe it's a nothing. Again, it's not really that close to the support level. It's, but it is close to the mean. So certainly I could make that trade here. Tesla in the middle of nowhere. Win, again, probably a put spread candidate, but once again, we bring up the same topic. You got the Fed tomorrow. Why get in the middle of it? Okay. And, again, so basically there isn't a lot to do right now. So we'll just go back and look and see. And of course, now the euro currency is giving us a potential trade. So we're going to go ahead and look at it and see if it's going to give us something where we can trade. And let's see what it looks like. So right now, if we do get a trader, we don't have one yet, but if we get a trade here, the stop will be 108.82. 108.82. If we do get a trade, we don't have one yet, but if we do get a stop, that's where our stop will be as it sits right now. So we have to continue to just sit back and wait and watch and kind of look. We know that we're not a buyer until 98 or above. So I can see that price from this screen to see if anything else is happening while we're waiting and while we're watching. And again, there isn't a lot happening and we have no trade to make yet. Okay, but we are looking at the potential euro currency. It looks like we might be getting a potential trade in crude here. Okay, but right now, as I said, we have nothing to do yet. Okay, now if we have a chance to maybe buy the euro currency, but we have to let this bar close. Okay, it's got a 4 o'clock license. We got to let it close. And then we'll see if indeed we're going to go ahead and jump in. It looks like we will, but again, I can't account for everything until I can actually see it. Okay, so you do have a potential trade here. All right, and I am taking the trade, and I am in at 108.99, and my stop is at 108. 108.72, is that right? Excuse me, 108.82. 108.82 is my stop. Okay. And so there we are there. And is anything else developing here? Crude looks like it's going to get there. Okay, so crude looks like it's going to be a buy coming up. And again, I don't know yet for sure, but it looks like it's going to be a buy. And certainly, if it comes a buy, we'll buy it. Not, again, we don't back away from it if it's a legitimate trade. And that certainly the volume is not getting there. So now the price has got to hold. We've got to wait for a little bit longer. Okay. And we can go look at the short term right now. The stop here on crude would be 81.91. 81.91 would be the stop. But again, we have no trade yet, so there's nothing to do. Stop would be 81.90 now. Okay, that has changed. And we have no trade anyways, but 81.90 would be our stop as it sits now. So again, there's not much of excitement here. We're just kind of hovering and waiting. Okay. And still waiting, and still waiting. Okay, and now we're on to the next bar, so we know we're at least a minute away from a trade there, and our euro currency is right where we got in it. So there's nothing to do there. We're not getting out, we're not getting in, we're just kind of hanging out. And so now our stop is 81.90, and it looks like we may get a buy here, but again, we got to wait and let it confirm before we do anything. And again, right now there's no buy. See, there you go. So if you'd have jumped early, you might be in trouble versus just waiting and letting it tell you when it's time. And we're going to be a buyer at 55 or above. Okay, that's my number, 55 or above. We still got time to wait. And no trade yet. Okay, there you go. See what happens? It changed right at the end. Now, it might turn out to be a winner, but again, we're not trading. If we bought it, we wouldn't be trading the way that we like to trade and what we're trying to get the advantage on. And that's, again, what you have to always remember. It's trying to grab the edge, okay, of probability. Okay, and that is always the case when we're trading here, is to try to get the edge. So again, we will wait another minute. And again, if it doesn't show up, it doesn't show up. It's okay. It's not the end of the world. That's the beauty of what we're doing. We get to pull and make all the decisions, okay, as to if it's the trade or not. Okay, once again, we're in position to be a buyer. Okay, but again, we'll have to see. In 14 seconds, anything can happen. Okay, and maybe we'll pay a little bit more for it, but whatever. Rather have confirmation than not. Okay, you can buy crude if you're trading with me. And your stop is 81.90. Okay, and you're working to sell. If you're trading multiples as I am, you are working to sell 10 ticks above on one, 10 to 20 ticks above on a second, and then we'll evaluate where we're at. In the meantime, again, there's not much going on. It's very, very, very quiet here. Okay, very, very limp and quiet, and not much excitement. Okay, so again, we sit and we're watching. And you can see there's nothing in the indexes. The volume is drying up to virtually zero. And interesting enough, the Dow is making highs while the NASDAQ is working down towards its lows. Huh? Okay. In the meantime, the crude trade is a little slightly profitable, nothing big, but again, we needed to get up about 10 ticks, needed to get up to about 68 to get you out of one. And then if you get to 68 and get out of one, then take your entire stop and move it to break even on the balance and continue to work your orders up above. But again, we're not there yet. But again, that's just the area that we're looking for. And you can see the reason we use these trades is to create action. Okay. And you can see there's very little action to the market in general. So again, why would we want to get overly involved when there's a lack of activity or a lack of action in the market to begin with? That is always something that you have to remember as you are trading these, is that the lack of activity is to our detriment, not to our benefit. Okay. So there we are, sitting waiting. Not very much to do, not very much to think about. You know, we just need a little bit of a pop. Need a little bit of a pop in the euro currency, a little bit of a pop in crude, and maybe we can take some profits out of here. Right now, we're just sitting here at about break even across the board, which again, these trades should, if they're right, they should act quickly. They should be, you know, you should be at break even pretty quickly with a profit. Okay, and we haven't gotten there yet, which is, this shows me how slow the action really is. And again, this is the problem in a very slow, dull market. You're waiting and you're waiting, and if you're trying to trade it, you're more likely to make a bad trade out of it, because you're more likely to see a mirage that doesn't exist, because you're trying to force a trade, which again is something we don't want to do. Forcing trades is not what we do. Okay. So let's see what happens here. And so it comes down a little bit again. It's right, you know, it's right near the low of the recent move, which is where we should base our stop off of. But again, this is as crappy as it gets from a trader standpoint. Okay, that's one thing to remember. This is as crappy as it gets, and you know, we don't need to be involved in crap. So we're just sitting here singing a song, waiting for something, and there's nothing's coming. So now the good news is, for now, is holding the support level here. This better hold here. And that's what we're doing. Again, it's pretty dull, not too exciting, not much to do. And the euro currency looks like it might be in trouble, but again, it's only down a tick or two, depending on where you got in exactly. And the crude is right about break even. So, I mean, again, these trades should be already set, okay, and over, not looking for the movement. This is why I warn you on days like today that it's probably better to walk away than to be involved. Okay, I can't predict that, so that's why, you know, we're Tuesdays and Thursdays, so I can only deal with the market I have when I'm with you. But it's very, very quiet. Okay, and I'll see if we get any action and any movement, but it doesn't appear so. I'm going to give you some instructions now as we near the end of our time. Work if the euro currency gets back to 109, okay, put your stop at break even. If you get out of your crude, put your stop at break even, okay, and then make sure you take out the other working orders that are below, because you don't want to forget and then get filled by accident. But right now, the crude's a slightly profitable, the euro currency is a slight loser. But again, I will report in on Thursday how these resolved and how they finished. But right now, there's nothing I can do with you. Okay. So have a great day, everybody. We'll see you back here on Thursday, and enjoy.
All opinions expressed by Tradier Hub contributors are solely the contributors' opinions and do not reflect the opinions of Tradier nor its affiliates and/or subsidiaries. You should not treat any opinion expressed by Hub contributors as a specific inducement to make a particular investment or to follow a particular strategy, but only as an expression of their opinion. The contributors' opinions are based on their own personal research, but neither Tradier nor its affiliates and/or subsidiaries warrants its completeness or accuracy, and it should not be relied upon as such. Any trades or positions discussed or referred to by contributors may or may not be actual live trades or positions. Such information is not intended to be financial or investment advice. Tradier Inc. is the parent company of Tradier Brokerage Inc. Tradier Brokerage Inc. and Tradier Inc. are separate entities with their own products and services. Securities products and services are offered through Tradier Brokerage Inc. Tradier Brokerage Inc. is an independent subsidiary of Tradier Inc., all rights reserved, member FINRA SIPC.